I'm going to talk about anti-Semitism in German rap music the next, let's say, 20 to 25 minutes, and specifically about anti-Semitism in German rap music. There are two main reasons why I'm focusing on this particular rap genre. Hip-hop in Germany is considered to be the largest and most important youth culture, and within the past 20 years, gangsta rap in particular has turned into one of the most successful musical genres in Germany. That is one reason. Another reason is anti-Semitism in German rap music occurs to a significantly high amount in German gangsta rap. And today I would like to point out to two major aspects of that phenomenon. On the one hand, there are specific anti-Semitic tropes that appear in German gangsta rap, especially between the years of around 2010 and 2018. And I would like to start off just in a minute with giving you a few examples of how anti-Semitic narratives and images are implemented in lyrics and music videos of German gangsta rap. On the other hand, there's always an audience, the listeners of gangsta rap, the consumers, so to speak. And dealing with that phenomenon of anti-Semitism in gangsta rap raises a very simple but also very relevant question. What about the audience? What about the young people who listen to gangsta rap? What is their opinion on gangsta rap? How do they perceive the images and narratives that are portrayed in German gangsta rap? And do they share the values that are promoted through the music? And also, in which way do they perceive the anti-Semitic notions that can be found in gangsta rap? And most importantly, and this is a question that I'm going to discuss in the second part of my presentation, is there a correlation between the consumption of gangsta rap and anti-Semitic beliefs among the audience? And I will try to answer that question by using the results of our research project on the perception of anti-Semitism in German gangsta rap among young people from North Rhine-Westphalia in Western Germany. And if I'm going to say we, then I'm going to speak as a representative of a whole group of researchers, Mark Grimm, Uli Bauer, Barish Ertugrul, Vanessa Walter, and we got support from Ipsos Research Center. So just for you to know. But first of all, I would like to give you an insight on a media debate that took place 3 years ago in spring 2018. On this picture, you can see two very famous rappers. On the left side, you can see Farid Abdullawi, aka Farid Bang, a rapper from Düsseldorf, also West Germany, actually city in North Rhine-Westphalia. On the right side, you can see Felix Blume, aka Kollega, who also lives in Düsseldorf. The picture shows both of them in 2018 at a German music award show named Echo. And up until that point, the Echo used to be probably the most prestigious music award show in Germany. And Kollega and Farid Bang were nominees in the category for Best National Hip Hop Artist. But just weeks before this award show, both of them were heavily criticized by major parts of the German media. And the reason for this was not only one specific song, but mainly one specific line. And that line was, in German, "Mein Körper definierter als von Auschwitz-Insassen," which means in English, "My body is more defined than that of Auschwitz inmates." So to explain the meaning of that line, they used it as a cynical reference to bodybuilding, because an ideal of bodybuilding is to have a low body fat percentage. And as I just mentioned, that specific line caused an outcry on major parts of the media, and the organizers of the award show came more and more under pressure, but still they decided that both rappers should not be excluded from the show. And so in the end, Kollega and Farid Bang remained nominees. They actually won the award, and the organizers let them perform at the end of the show as the grand final, so to speak. And that was the beginning of the end of the Echo Award. The media outcry got even bigger. Some musicians gave back their awards as a form of protest. And even the foreign minister of Germany, Heiko Maas, said on Twitter that anti-Semitic lyrics should not be awarded. And in the end, the organizers of the show came to the conclusion that it is the best idea to abolish the whole award show. So since 2018, this show does not exist anymore. I remember that when I was following that debate back in 2018, I was already working on my PhD project on anti-Semitism in rap music, and it took me by surprise that up until that point, other songs and music videos that Kollega specifically had published in the years before were not criticized in the same way, although they convey anti-Semitic notions. And I would like to just give you a few examples, mostly from 2016. Such as the music video Apocalypse, which promotes the idea of Jews being a devilish force, the incarnation of evil. The same month, it was November 2016, Kollega published a video that tells the story of an elite that is in control of the media in order to manipulate the world's population. One representative of that elite, as you can see on the picture, is wearing a blue and white tie and a kippah. So the video portrays the anti-Semitic notion of Jews being in control over the media. In his music video Hardcore, also from 2016, Kollega presents himself as a dictator, and in doing so, he uses certain elements from the aesthetics of National Socialism. The same year, he promoted anti-Zionist ideas in his movie Kollega in Palestina, Kollega in Palestine. And during the Echo debate, he published an anti-Semitic cartoon on his social media. So the question here is, can Kollega be regarded as representative for the whole genre of German gangster rap when it comes to anti-Semitism? The short answer is no. However, it is a bit more complex than that. Not every gangster rapper in Germany promotes these forms of anti-Semitic bigotry in the same way as Kollega does it, which means that to a certain extent, Kollega is standing out from the crowd of gangster rappers in Germany when it comes to anti-Semitism. But I do believe that Kollega can be regarded as a symptom of a phenomenon that is a relevant part of German gangster rap, and that is anti-Semitism. Here you can see the core elements of anti-Semitism that you can find in German gangster rap, not only in Kollega's music videos, but also in lyrics and music videos from other very famous German rappers. In the past 15 years, especially the most famous and most successful gangster rappers in Germany have published songs and music videos with these forms of anti-Semitic content. I would like to just briefly give you a few examples, starting with lyrical references to the Shoah, such as the song Para mit Amnesia by Frankfurt rappers Celo and Abdi. Translated into English, they say, Tyson haircut, fresh on the sides, we march like the HJHJ. It's an acronym for Hitlerjugend, Hitler Youth, the youth organization of the National Socialists. In the song 24 Stunden, 24 hours, famous gangster rapper Xatar says, quote, also translated into English, today it's raining final solutions for some debtors. But there are also songs in which Jews are identified as sort of rich, money-grabbing, greedy, such as in Interlude by Berlin rapper MC Boogie. In that song, MC Boogie says, I want cash like a Yahudi. Yahudi is the Arab and also Turkish word for Jew. And throughout the years, I mean, this is a song from 2008, but throughout the years, there are similar lines, for example, by rapper Eno, quote, hungry like Yahudis, counting the flus. Flus is an Arabic slang word for money that actually came into German rap through French rap. So here again, you have this image of Jews being greedy, are allegedly all about the money. Conspiracy theories is something that I would describe as a major theme in German gangster rap. There are plenty of rap songs and also public statements on social media by famous gangster rappers that contain conspiracy theories. Many of them convey anti-Semitic narratives. There are, for example, multiple songs that refer to the anti-Semitic Rothschild conspiracy theory, that Rothschild myth, so to speak, propagates the idea of Jews allegedly using their financial power to control, to oppress, or even to kill people. There is, for example, Haftbefehl from Frankfurt, one of the most important and most successful rappers in Germany, also critically acclaimed, who is referring to that myth, actually in a few of his songs. Another example is a song by rapper Magnus, in which he says, quote, "Tell your friends when I'm coming, it will be dead silent because I pull the strings like the Rothschilds." And another aspect of this phenomenon are anti-Israel notions that are fueled by many gangster rappers in Germany. There are quite a few songs and music videos and also social media statements that promote hostility towards the Jewish state of Israel, such as the song 100 Terror Bars, rather a battle rap song by rapper Fahd. There he says, "I run through the streets while shooting like the Hamas." And here on this picture, you can see famous rapper Massiv. He posted that picture on his Facebook about 2 years ago. Massiv was born in Germany. His parents are Palestinian refugees from Lebanon. And on the picture, his face is partly covered with a kufiya, which is also a symbol of Palestinian nationalism. And in his hand, he's holding a stone. So he seems to identify himself with the violent fight of certain Palestinian movements against Israel. So I would like to change the perspective and focus now on the audience of gangster rap. And Mark Grimm has already talked a bit about the goal of a research project on the perception of anti-Semitism in German gangster rap. And I would like to now dive a bit deeper into that topic by explaining what we did in the research project and what we have found out. So we started in August and September 2020, last year, with the first part of the research project, which was a qualitative study. And during this qualitative study, we interviewed teenagers between the age of 12 and 18 years who considered themselves to be frequent listeners of German gangster rap. In these interviews, one-on-one interviews, also group interviews, the teenagers were asked about their affiliation to gangster rap. So at this point, I would like to tell you a bit more about gangster rap in Germany. Gangster rap usually tells stories about strong individuals, mostly men, who fight their way out of the ghettos by using violence and also by committing all sorts of crimes to make money, such as selling drugs or committing frauds, and so on and so forth. But apart from that, gangster rappers quite often present themselves as social critics. And this is something that is perceived by the teenagers that we interviewed. They perceive certain forms of social criticism in gangster rap as authentic. What gangster rappers tell them about society makes somehow sense to them. During the interviews, we showed them also songs and videos from gangster rappers that contain, on the one hand, conspiracy theories, on the other hand, also anti-Semitic tropes. And it turned out that the teenagers were not really open to conspiracy theories that we showed them through songs and videos. However, many of them tend to have a dualistic worldview, which means that they seem to have a specific perception of the world that divides the world into either good or bad, with no layers in between that somehow illustrate the complexity of society. And this is like this form of black and white thinking is a core element of conspiracy thinking. And what we also found out during the interviews is that the teenagers were not able to identify specific narratives or codes as anti-Semitic. For example, we showed them a song that portrays Tel Aviv, major city in Israel, as the alleged center of corrupt political elite that is dominating global policies and so on. And some of the teenagers didn't even understand the word Tel Aviv or didn't know where to put it. After the qualitative study, after the interviews, we conducted our main study, which was a quantitative survey that took place in October and November 2020. And in this second part of the research project, we surveyed 500 young people between the age of 12 to 24 years from North Rhine-Westphalia to get a bigger picture. And we did that by using an online questionnaire, which worked quite well also because of Corona, and young people were used to spend a lot of time on the computers, I assume. And in that quantitative survey, we first of all gathered all sorts of information, such as what is the economic or financial family background of young people that listen to gangster rap? What kind of education do they have? And most importantly, what do they see or perceive in gangster rap? And what we have found out is that the majority of gangster rap listeners come from families with an average or even high financial income, which means that not only young people with limited economic resources listen to gangster rap, it is rather fair to say that with regard to the social status of the audience, German gangster rap is a mainstream phenomenon. Another question that we try to find an answer to refers to the political content of gangster rap and how it is perceived by a larger audience. In other words, what do young people think of political statements made in gangster rap songs? And here on the left side, you can see some statements, and on the right side, you can see the approval rates to these statements. So the question in the online survey was, and I'm quoting, what attitudes and themes do you think are represented in gangster rap? And as you can see on the right side, almost 44% agreed that, quote, gangster rap criticizes people with a lot of money and power. 43% believe that gangster rap, quote, speaks about what is going wrong in the world, end of quote. 1/3 of the young people agreed that gangster rap raises awareness of important political issues. And a bit less, 30% would say that, quote, gangster rap tells you how things really are. In order to find out if there is a correlation between anti-Semitism and the affinity to gangster rap, we first of all use specific items to find out how many of the respondents, whether they listen to gangster rap or not, how many of them believed in anti-Semitic ideas. So we created a specific tool to measure the degree of anti-Semitic beliefs among those young people who took part in the survey. And this survey tool that we called the Antisemitism Index consists of 11 statements. And all of these statements contain, not all of them, 10 of them, contain specific anti-Semitic notions. One was another statement to check if there is actually also a reverse opinion, but this would go too far for now. So the Antisemitism Index may sound a bit technical for now, but I would like to give you a few examples of how this statement works. To measure, for example, the anti-Semitic conspiracy thinking, the respondents were supposed to agree or disagree on statements such as, and I'm quoting from the survey, the Jews, more than other people, work with evil tricks in order to achieve what they want, end of quote. 10% agreed with that statement. Another statement was, quote, the Jews control the international financial world, end of quote. 16.5% agreed with that statement. To measure aspects of post-Shoah anti-Semitism, and for those of you who don't know what the term post-Shoah anti-Semitism means in that context, post-Shoah anti-Semitism often appears as an attempt to neglect the history of the Shoah. So we asked the respondents to agree or disagree on the following statement, quote, It makes me angry that there are still remonstrations and accusations against the Germans because of their crimes against the Jews. And here we actually had the highest approval rate of a bit more than 50%. And one last example to measure the anti-Israeli anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism, we used the following statements. What the state of Israel is doing to the Palestinians today is in principle no different to what the Nazis did to the Jews during the Third Reich. Or another statement, when the state of Israel no longer exists, there will be peace in the Middle East. So altogether, we used 11 statements in the survey. We did not create them ourselves. These statements were used in other surveys on anti-Semitism as well, which means that we chose these statements because they proved to be reliable in other surveys before. And from the data we received, we were able to form three groups based on the approval rate on the 11 statements. And here you can see them. Group 1 with 26.5% is the group with the highest approval rates on the anti-Semitism index. Therefore, they are named so-called very anti-Semitic. Members of group 2, 37% are considered to be partly anti-Semitic, and a third group, almost of the same size, 36.5%, is regarded as not anti-Semitic. And after we formed these three groups on the basis of the approval rates on anti-Semitic statements, we analyzed if there's a correlation between the affinity to gangster rap and the affinity to anti-Semitic thinking. And it turned out that there is, in fact, a correlation between the consumption of gangster rap and anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitic beliefs among listeners of gangster rap are significantly higher. You can see that in the graphic, teenagers and young adults who tend to listen to gangster rap more likely believe in anti-Semitic ideas than those teenagers and young adults who do not listen to gangster rap. As you can see here, illustrated in the graphic, 81% of the group, so-called very anti-Semitic, very much like to listen to gangster rap or like to listen to gangster rap. And compared to the two other groups, that is significantly higher. However, if you take a look at the third group in that graphic, whose members are not anti-Semitic, it shows that gangster rap is a genre that is also somehow appreciated by young people who do not believe in anti-Semitic ideas. So this is the whole picture. The correlation between the consumption of gangster rap and anti-Semitic beliefs seems to be affected by age, sex, and education, which means, on the one hand, the group of the so-called very anti-Semitic listeners of gangster rap are, on average, a little bit younger than the less anti-Semitic gangster rap listeners. They are more likely to be male, not female. And also, education seems to be a factor, but a rather small one. The so-called very anti-Semitic gangster rap listeners are a bit less likely to receive higher education. But as I said, this is just a tendency. And one last result that I would like to share with you before I come to an end, there is a similar correlation between misogynist beliefs and the consumption of gangster rap. Misogyny and anti-Semitism both correlate with the consumption of gangster rap. We do not see this form of correlation between the affinity to gangster rap and racist beliefs. So, to draw a conclusion, what we know for a fact is that gangster rap portrays anti-Semitic tropes. We can identify them. When we take a look at the audience of gangster rap, we could measure a correlation between the consumption of gangster rap and anti-Semitic beliefs. However, what we do not know is in which way the consumption of gangster rap actually affects the belief system of young people. With regard to our data, we can see that there is a correlation, but we need to get to know more about the actual cause, the actual impact of gangster rap. That is a very complex process that I think should be the subject of further research. That's it for now, and now I'm looking forward to your questions. Thank you.